Hello there, welcome to Ever Near. This is going to be the first episode in a series of shorts about the signs of the second coming of our Lord. So, this first episode, let's talk about the two witnesses in Jerusalem. So these two witnesses, these two prophets of God, they're going to be prophesying to the people for about 3.5 years, giving his word. And something that's interesting is outside of the city, it talks about how outside of the holy city, there's going to be Gentiles. There's going to be this army from the sounds of it. But for some reason, the army isn't coming inside. And I think it's because of these two prophets. Because it goes on to talk about power they've been given. First, if anyone hurts these prophets, fire is going to come out of their mouths and burn them, devour them. So that's pretty cool. They have dragon breath, I guess. But it goes on, and they have more than that. It talks about the plagues that with Moses in Egypt. So they have access to those plagues as well. Not just breathing fire, which is incredible already, but they can access all those plagues that happened in Egypt. That's pretty incredible. And I think that's what's happening. They're using these plagues and these power to keep these armies out of Jerusalem, keep them from taking over Jerusalem. Unfortunately, after 3.5 years, these armies, they do get in and they kill these two prophets, these two witnesses. And they leave their bodies in the street as a sign, I'm sure, of some sort. And these armies, the army of Gog, Gentiles, whoever they are, they're ecstatic. They're so happy. They're giving each other gifts. They're patting each other on the back. They finally killed these two witnesses that have been getting in their way, that have been vexing them. But then something happens that terrifies these armies. These two witnesses, after 3.5 days, are resurrected. They get back up on their feet. And these armies, their enemy that they just have been fighting and killed is alive again. That would be terrifying. And at that point, an earthquake happens and kills a lot of these men. And whoever's left, they're afraid, and they actually start giving glory to God. It's a very interesting sign. And I'm looking forward to seeing this. I don't know how it'll play out exactly, but it's going to be really interesting to see this. I hope I am able to see it. In this one, we're going to be talking about a sign from Revelation 7. You can go look at it. And this is the 144,000. These people are kind of a big deal. They're actually kind of a big deal, and they're very interesting to me. Because we always talk about the mark of the beast, right? How it's going to be in the forehead or in the wrist, the hand, whatnot. But there's actually a group serving God that are sealed in the forehead. Makes me wonder if that was just Satan trying to counterfeit something God did. Probably. So this group, they're very important. They're very important. And the reason I say that is because there's some angels who actually have a dialogue about them, and John kind of writes about it. This is what one of them said. "Hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads." That's a pretty big deal. They're like, hold off on all the disaster. Don't finish. Don't destroy everything. We need to mark. We need to mark these guys, these gals, whoever they are, before the end. And then it goes on to say that 12,000 of them are chosen from each of the tribes of the house of Israel. 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes. And I personally think these 144,000 are going to be missionaries. They're going to be missionaries with an extra heaping, helping power of God behind them. They're going to be God's powerful servants. And I'll tell you why I think that. Because the second half of this chapter talks about a numberless host. So many people you can't even count, and they're all going to be in front of the throne of God, ready to enter the temple, pure, clean, ready to do God's work. And they're going to come out of every nation. I think these 144,000, I think the reason they are talked about first and then it talks about this group that came to the throne of God, I think the 144,000 brought them. That's what I think. That's what I think. Sure, I could be wrong. I'm wrong a lot, but that's what I think. I think they are going to be powerful missionaries towards the very end. All right. So in this episode, I'm going to be pulling from 2 Timothy 3, and we're going to be talking about unnatural affection, because in the last days, there's going to be a loss of natural affection. And just to kind of give you an idea, natural affection is what God set up. Adam and Eve, a man and a woman. That is natural affection. And there's been a loss of that. In our days, like there's a lot going on that is very unnatural. And if you want to see, kind of read a little more, there's also in Romans 1, he talks about that unnatural affection. But anyways, in our days, we're seeing a loss of that. Two major ways. There's lots of ways, but two major ways I've seen is men loving men, women loving women. That is not natural affection. That is not the way God set it up. God set it up as Adam and Eve, a man and a woman. That's natural affection, a man and a woman. Loving the same gender, the same man and man, woman and woman, that's not natural. Another way that I've seen, which to me is, I don't know if it's necessarily worse, it still is a union that is not natural, but kind of more, I guess it's more surprising, I'd say, is AI. People are literally falling in love with these algorithms, with AI, and they're marrying them just like they would marry another person. Blows my mind. That is not right. That's not natural affection right there. And these type of things, they're happening constantly. This unnatural affection is something that is plaguing our world. And I mean, those are the two big ones I've noticed, but there's lots of other ones. Like there's stories about people marrying their pets or loving other inanimate objects. Like there's a lot of unnatural affection plaguing our world. And this is one of the signs of the times, is that there will be a loss of that natural affection. All right, thanks for being here with me at Evernear. If you're liking the videos, give them those thumbs up. Subscribe for more content. Throw down some comments. Tell me what you think are some of the unnatural affections going on right now. And until next time, go out there and be a good boy or a good girl. In this episode 4 of the Signs of the Times series I'm doing, we're going to talk about a sign I found in Luke. And it is a very personal one. For me and probably for you too. It talks about how in the last days, men's hearts will fail them. And that means women too. I'm seeing this everywhere. Everywhere. People's hearts are failing them. My heart has failed me many times. And there are so many reasons that this is happening. But I'm going to give you 3 ways that I've seen it happening to people. First is fear. They're afraid of the world. They're afraid of the wickedness. They're afraid of what's going to happen before Christ comes back. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear. And that's making people's hearts fail. Another way I've experienced personally is perfectionism. Oh my goodness. Perfectionism is destroying people. It's almost destroyed me quite a few times. It's still trying to. Because we hold ourselves to such a high standard. Such a high standard that it's literally impossible to reach. That will destroy you. Another way I've seen and experienced too is depression. This one is very personal because I have felt my heart failing because of this. There's been times when I've sunk so deep that I literally have no hope. And I would definitely consider that your heart failing you. And there's so many other ways. There's so many other ways in which this sign of the time is being fulfilled. In fact, I'd love to hear some of yours, if you throw them in the comments, why people's hearts are failing them. But in the end, we do not have to be afraid. In fact, when we see this sign of the time, or experience it, or see any other sign of Christ's second coming, it's something to be excited about, to get excited about. Maybe that sounds a little strange, but that's what the Lord told his apostles. When he told them some of the signs of his return, they were reasonably concerned as well, but he told them, you don't have to be afraid, because when all these things are coming to pass, that means I'm returning. That means I'm coming back. So it's not something we need to be afraid of, because Christ's coming back. It's something to be excited about when we see these signs of the times, even sad ones like this one. In this one, I want to talk about false prophets here with you for a bit. So in Matthew 24, the Lord warns his apostles as he's giving some of the signs of the times. He tells them in the last days that there are going to be many false prophets, and they're going to deceive many people. Now that's kind of a concerning sign. That's kind of concerning, and I totally get that. That's concerning because we don't want to be deceived. We do not want to be deceived by these false prophets who will rise. So how do we do that? I'll tell you what the Lord said, and this is in Matthew 7. But first, let me say one thing I think about false prophets. This is personal opinion, so you can take it with a grain of salt, but I don't think false prophets have to claim to be prophets of God. I'm sure there are going to be false prophets who claim they are prophets of God, but I think sometimes it's a little more subtle than that. I think these people who are very influential in the world, who lead people away from God, I think they could be considered false prophets. They don't necessarily have to claim, hey, I'm a prophet of God, listen to me. Some might, but I don't think they have to do that. If they are leading you away from God, I think you could probably consider that a false prophet. Okay, now to how we know whether they're a false prophet or not. The Lord told us, by their fruits ye shall know them. By their fruits. So the things they do, when they act, is good coming from their actions or is bad coming from their actions? Are they leading you towards God or away from God? That's the real question you need to be looking at here. Because if they're doing good things and they're leading you towards Christ, that's a true prophet. If they are doing bad things, bad is coming from their actions, and they're leading you away from Christ, that's a false prophet. So keep that question in mind when you're looking at people, when you're looking at these very influential people. What are their fruits? All right, thank you for being here with me. This here is our Signs of the Times series that we're doing. This is episode 7 of the Signs of the Times. Or, my bad, 6. We'll get to 7 very soon, actually, because the next few episodes are all going to be talking about the same thing, and that is the beast, or the Antichrist. So, in the Signs of the Times series, we're doing a smaller series Inception, or... okay, that was bad. But yeah, so in this, we're going to be pulling from Revelation 13. So go give it a look, check it out. It's really interesting. So this beast, or Antichrist, like lots of people kind of dub him as, the first thing that's talked about is that he's a very interesting looking figure. It talks about how he's like a leopard, he's like a lion, he has 10 heads, he has 10 crowns. A lot of really interesting descriptions about this beast. But this is my personal opinion, and I could be wrong, fight me, I don't know. But my thought is he's not going to be some mythical beast that's raised out of the sea. I think that he's actually just going to be a very powerful person, a very influential person. That's why he has these 10 crowns. And I think that's maybe he is ruling over 10 major powers. Just my thought. I could be wrong. But that's my thought. So after John describes what he looks like, he talks about the first thing that kind of happens to the beast. So the beast, one of his 10 heads, is gravely wounded to the point where it should die. But the beast doesn't die. In fact, just the opposite. The beast is healed. The devil, or the dragon, gives this beast power to do miracles. And this is one of the first ones that happens, is that he is actually healed from a grave wound. And when people see this, what seems a genuine miracle, they start flipping out. They're in awe. And many people start thinking, hey, there's no one who can prevail against the beast. No one can get into a fight with him and win. He's more or less invincible. So that's the first sign. People will start to think he is too powerful to be beaten. So he did his first miracle in our last episode, being healed of some grievous wound that should have killed him. And when people start going, oh, there's no one that can beat him, anyone who gives war to the beast, they're going to lose. Once people start saying that, the next thing it says about the beast seems to almost prove this perception. The beast gives war to the saints. He starts having war with the people of God. But the interesting and kind of concerning part, in fact, very concerning part, is that it says he overcame the saints. So they had war and he won. So it's like, well, hold on, wait, aren't the people of God supposed to win? That's how this turns out, right? But not yet. We're not at the end. Christ hasn't come back yet. When Christ comes, that's when the saints will ultimately win. But here, the beast overpowers the saints in war. And it's very interesting. It makes me wonder, because does that mean it's a physical war? Does that mean the saints are, once they lose this war, are either enslaved or have to flee and retreat to places of safety? Is it a physical war like that? Or is it possibly a different kind of war? A war that's more about influence and words. I wonder this because of what it says next about the beast. What it says next about this Antichrist. It says that he was given a mouth to speak great things and blasphemies or false teachings, and many will believe him. Many are going to be convinced because of his ability, his charisma, whatever it is. So I wonder if maybe this war is more a war of deciding whether you will follow the beast or follow Christ. I don't know. It could be physical. It could be a battle for souls rather than life. I don't know. So we were talking last time about how the beast, he was given power by the dragon to have basically charisma, is what it sounds like to me. When it talks about how he's given a mouth to speak great things, it kind of sounds like he is a very charismatic person. And it seems to further prove that because it talks about, as it goes on in the chapter, that only the people who worship the Lamb of God, they are going to be the only ones who do not worship the beast. So somehow he convinces everyone who doesn't worship God to worship him. Whether that is simply because he is able to teach people what they want to hear, the philosophies of man, he just tells them what they want to hear, and they see the miracles he's done, and they're like, oh, this is the guy. This is the guy. Let's worship him. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's because people are so afraid of him because he seems to be invincible. If you go back and look at the first video we did on him, it seems to be invincible. He can't be killed. I don't know why everyone is worshiping him. Whether it's his charisma, they're afraid of him, maybe people are just wicked and he's a wicked man who they want to follow. I don't know exactly how it gets this bad to where only the people worshiping the Lamb of God are not worshiping him. And it's interesting because this goes on for 42 months. His rule, his reign, the beast, goes on for 42 months. And my first thing was like, wait, how many months are in 4 years? Maybe this is like a president of the United States at some point. That seems like a logical, that's a very powerful man, someone who could fit this role. But I don't know that. Don't quote me. I have no idea who the beast will be. I do not know. But it's very interesting. So, something that comes next is actually surprising to me. And you'll have to wait till the next episode. There's actually another what seems to be Antichrist on top of him. Another one. So, like, subscribe, leave comments, and until next time, go out there and be a good boy or a good girl. But in this one, we're going to continue in Revelations 13, and it talks about something that quite frankly surprised me. I've always been hearing about the Antichrist, the beast, this person who's going to be just the opposite of God and ruling the world for a time. But there's actually a second beast. There's not just one. There's two. Very interesting. This second beast comes, and the way John describes him is very, very concerning. The first one, it was like this mythical, scary creature, but the only thing he says about this second beast is that he had lamb horns. He had horns like a lamb. Now, who is always described as a lamb? That's Christ. So this second beast, he is counterfeiting to look like Christ as much as he can. Very, very concerning. And this second beast, it says that he has all the powers of the first. He is able to do miracles. Something that is different, though, something really interesting about this one is that when he's doing miracles, calling fire from the heavens, doing anything that the first beast could do and more, he seems to be not trying to take the credit. In fact, this beast starts telling everyone who is convinced by his miracles to look at the first beast, to worship the first beast. Very interesting. And this beast, he goes on to create an idol of the first beast. And anyone who doesn't worship this idol, they are put to death. So this beast, this second Antichrist, very, very interesting. Very interesting. So this Antichrist, after he's doing signs and miracles and wonders, deceiving many people, telling them to worship the first beast, not him, the first beast, which was very interesting because this relationship here, this organization that is set up, this feels like a very clear counterfeit of Satan to me. Look at it. This second beast that comes, it seems like he's acting as a prophet. A prophet of Satan, yes, but a prophet. He is doing miracles. He's deceiving people, but he's not taking the credit. He's pointing to another person. He's pointing to the first beast. That seems exactly like what prophets do in the scriptures, but on the other side of the coin. They are doing miracles, and they are pointing to another person, Christ. So this, to me, this second beast, the relationship it has with the first, this seems exactly like Satan's counterfeit of the relationship prophets have with Christ. So personally, this second Antichrist, this second beast, kind of scares me a little bit more than the first one, honestly. Even though the first one seems to be this man of war that is terrifying. This second one actually scares me a little bit more, because he comes looking like a lamb, like Christ. Really scary. And there's something that he actually institutes very soon. He institutes the mark of the beast. After he creates that idol and is telling everyone to look at the first beast, he institutes the mark of the beast. So in this one, we're going to be talking about the mark of the beast. This is a debated topic of what it actually is, but it's a pretty interesting one. So this mark is actually implemented by the second beast we were talking about last time. The second Antichrist, or maybe second prophet would be a better name to say, because he's always pointing back to the first beast. Anyways, that aside, so the mark of the beast, it's actually pretty short what it says about it in Revelation 13, so I'm just going to read it real quick. It says, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. And that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name." So that's pretty short, but there's just quite a bit said in that little part there. So like I said, it's debated. Lots of people think maybe it's a chip, because it talks about it's in the right hand or in the forehead. So yeah, I could see it being a chip. Like people are looking at, this neural link, or these chips that Elon Musk is working on, or these other big techies. Lots of people are kind of theorizing that's what it might be. Maybe. I don't know. It's definitely possible. And it seems kind of logical to me, because it makes sense that it could be that. I mean, because if you think about it, it's like John, he's here 1,000+ of years ago, trying to describe what he's seeing today. He didn't know what chips were. He didn't know what a lot of his technology is, so he's just kind of trying to describe it. It could be a chip. But it could also be like a tattoo or some other marking, some other thing that goes into the skin. Whatever it is, it's interesting that it says if you don't have this, you can't buy or sell. You can't be a part of the community. You can't be a part of the world, really, if you don't have this mark. And there's more I want to say about it next time, but there's not enough time in this episode, so I would love to hear what you think. What are some theories? What do you think the mark of the beast is? Is it a chip? Is it a tattoo? Is it something else entirely? I'd love to hear your thoughts. So comment. And whether it's a chip or a tattoo or something else, I think that's important to know, to look into, so it's easier to recognize. But something that I think is far, far more important is to realize taking the mark of the beast, whatever it is, isn't just a simple act of being able to be a part of the world, being able to buy food for you or your family. That's not what it is. It is not simple at all. What's happening here is you are choosing a side. If you take the mark of the beast, you are choosing a side. You're choosing to worship the beast. That's what the mark of the beast is, taking his name on you. It's not simply a transactional thing. You are choosing a side. In fact, in Revelation 14, it makes it pretty clear that you can't worship God and get this mark, because getting the mark is worshiping the beast. So in Revelation 14, I'm just going to read one or two verses to you to show you how serious the Lord is about getting this mark. So an angel comes and it says this. It says, "The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into a cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever. And they have no rest day or night who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name." Pretty clear language there. Is not good. You cannot take the mark of the beast and worship God. You cannot worship God and mammon. You can only have one master. So the mark isn't a simple transactional thing. It is choosing a side. So make sure you choose the right side. Don't choose the beast. Choose God, because we know who wins in the end. So it's not going to be easy when this mark of the beast shows up, because you really won't be able to be a part of the world. You won't be able to buy things or sell things. If you have no food and you don't have the mark, well, you're in trouble. What do you do? So I want to look at this here for a minute. The mark of the beast, it is going to control a lot of things. But as we said last time, you cannot get the mark of the beast. If you do, you are worshiping the beast. You're not worshiping God. So for those who don't have it, for those who don't want to worship the beast, what do you do? What do you do when you can't buy things? You can't go and buy food. You can't be a part of the world. What do you do? I would suggest you start preparing. And honestly, I don't believe there's a lot of time left. So I would suggest you start preparing now. Build up your food, build up your water, build up the things that you need to survive. And if you only can do a little bit, you know what? That's fine. If you only can do a little bit, but you are preparing, you are doing what you can, the Lord is going to make up the difference. If you do nothing, I don't think you have a promise from the Lord that He'll make up the difference. But if you are actually trying, if you are doing what you can, even if that's, I'm going to buy a few cans of food here each paycheck. I'm going to get a few gallons of water here each paycheck. Like, even if it's little, if it's all you can do, that is enough. But I would definitely suggest that you start to prepare now. Start preparing now. Because if you don't prepare, then when that time comes and you find that you have nothing, that you're going to be in big trouble if you aren't able to buy food or able to buy other things. The choice is going to be a lot harder. It's going to be a lot harder to not take that mark because you will be desperate. So instead of putting yourself in that situation, do all you can to prepare now. Prepare for what's coming, and the Lord will take care of you if you do. All right, thank you for being here. In the next few episodes, because we've talked about a bunch of scary or sad signs of the times, we're going to talk about some more exciting, happy ones in the next few episodes. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about God's victory, about how Christ actually wins in the end over the Antichrist, which is really good because the last handful of episodes we've been talking about the beast and the beast's prophet, the mark of the beast, all these things that are a little bit concerning. So I thought it'd be really good here now to kind of wrap up that section by jumping forward a little bit and looking at how Christ wins over the Antichrist. All right, so I'm actually going to read from Revelation 19 because I think it says it probably better than I could. So I'm going to read this a little bit real quick here. So it says, "And I saw heaven opened, and behold a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war. And he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast into a lake of fire, burning with brimstone. And the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which sword proceedeth forth out of his mouth." So, pretty cool. The beast, he is going to be allowed to rule for those 42 months, like we mentioned. He's going to be able to overcome the saints for a time. But in the end, Guess who wins? Guess who loses? Yeah, the beast is going to lose. The Lord is going to save his people. Pretty cool here. And it's good to see the end, because a lot of the time we do look at all the signs of the times. It's like, oh, these are dark and gloomy and scary. But when you look at the end, Christ wins. His people are saved. There's nothing to fear. It may not be easy, but there's nothing to fear. So Christ is going to win. He's going to win. We know the ending, even though there's some concerning things, and the beast is allowed to rule for a time, to overcome the saints for a time, for those 42 months it talks about. But in the end, we know who's going to win, and it ain't no devil. But what are we doing during this? Like, as this is happening, as this is wrapping up, what are the rest of us doing? The people who are following Christ. Well, in Revelation 15, it actually kind of talks about this a little bit. And you can check this out. This is like verses 2 through 4, I want to say. And John describes these people. He describes them as those who overcame the mark of the beast and overcame the idol of the beast. These people who overcame. In other words, these are the people who, instead of following and worshiping the beast, instead of getting the mark, instead of letting their fear lead them, they let their faith lead them. They continued to worship Christ, despite all the opposition that I'm sure they got, because not being able to buy food, not being able, all those things, there was probably a lot of opposition. But despite that, they let their faith in Christ lead them, and they continued to worship Christ. So these people John talks about, they have the harps of God, which don't know exactly what those are, but it sounds pretty cool, some kind of heavenly instrument. And they're singing praises. They're praising God for what he's done. It says they're singing the songs of Moses at one point, which are those in the Bible, the songs of Moses? If you know where they are, throw down a comment. I'd love to go look at them again. Maybe I've already read them. It's just not on the top of my head right now. So if you know where they are, throw them down. But they're singing praises. They're singing the songs of Moses. They're just telling the Lord how amazing he is because he saved them. Or if you are a follower of Christ and you're in that time, he saved you. All right. Thanks for being here. We know who will win in the end, so don't fear. If you're liking the content, subscribe for more, give some likes, comment, and until next time, go out there and be a good boy or a good girl.